There we are. Well, welcome everyone. I'm super excited to be here. I hope more people jump on, but I know that there's a lot of people in the yards like Yolanta and Cindy were just speaking. Well, Cindy much earlier today because Cindy can feel you really much. She can relate to your pain. Anyway, so yeah, so I'm super excited to be here. It's been a little bit since I've been here, so it's always a welcoming and a homecoming to be here. So good to have new people and old, well, none of us are old, but anyways, all of us together. Isn't it great? I feel like our arms are all just sort of like that circle of friends. So it's warm. Let's light the candle in the middle, and we're here tonight. Super excited. Juan's going to be leading us tonight, as he has been through this series. So lovely. This is the Rise Together. This is our dojo. We get together the second and the fourth Thursday of every month, and what we're up to is a rising together. We study and dive into different work that inspires us to live more fully, more truly, and bring that to the people that we lead, because we're all leading. Every one of us has a life that we are leading and people that we are leading. And so let's just come here and be sharp and arise together. So I want to thank you really for being here. And so Michelle and Brian, I don't see Brian yet, but well, why don't we, well, we'll start with, let's see. I know, we'll start with Daniela. I already said your name, but your name, where you're from, and we'll just go around quick, just so we can hear each other's voices, and you know, maybe a little something that you've got from the work that we've done so far. Whatever you'd like to share, just a little quick something about you, Daniela.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm from Squamish, BC. And I'm again embarrassed to say I haven't had very much time to read. There's been a lot going on my end, and yeah, so I've started reading a little bit on this long chapter at the beginning of our 2 weeks, and then just life got busy. So I apologize in advance. That yeah,
well, I'm sure that there's lots of pearls anyways, and yeah, that isn't that like 90 or I don't know 80% of it is showing up. So thank you, and give yourself a pat on the back for being here, right? Okay. All of us.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yay, thank you, Cindy. Okay, Yolanta, just give us a little something encouragement, where you're from. A fast one. Let us hear your voice. Oh, we're going to jump to Carrie. Carrie, go for it, quick. Yolanta will figure this out.
What do you want me to tell you? Just something?
Where you're from. We have a newbie, and we want to hear each other's voices.
I'm from
maybe just a little
Canada.
something what you're getting, okay? Go.
What I'm getting from this fantastic book?
Yeah.
How much more easeful my life is and how I think things and they just happen and I drift along blissfully.
Ah, beautiful. And look at you. I know you and you look fabulous, darling. Thank you. And you were from where, please? I was talking when you said it.
That's okay. Vancouver, Canada.
I knew that. I know that.
You know that.
Okay, going over there. Hi, Brian. Oh, and I'm Teresa, by the way. I didn't change my name here, Teresa from Canada. Michelle and Brian, if you could just go ahead, introduce yourself and just share a little bit about how you got here today.
Who's Brian?
Oh, gee, really? Did I get his name wrong?
Okay, so this is my husband, Tom, and I'm Michelle, and we're in Vancouver. And I just heard about this group at the last minute and thought, well, let's come and explore. Obviously, I haven't read the book. I did quickly look at it on Amazon and started the first little bit and went, oh, okay, that looks like it could be interesting. But of course, I haven't read it. So,
well, very good. Oh, I can't see it.
Tommy Transit.
Oh, there we go. Oh, I've heard of you too, actually.
I remember Tommy. Hi there, guys.
We
Welcome.
met you.
Pleasure to meet you all.
Yay. Yay, wonderful. Where are you guys from? Did you say that?
We're in Vancouver, East Van.
Oh, you did.
Live on Galley, I don't know, 6 months of the year, but I'm in Vancouver in the winter. And of course, due to COVID, we're not in Bali or India.
Something more interesting.
Beautiful Vancouver is blessed with you.
Yeah, right now it
Yay.
is with the blossoms out.
Well, thank
Yes.
you. And look, she is the
Well,
light.
thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay, Yolanta. Now, do you know how to mute? No, I can't. I have to ask. There you are.
I do. But yeah, there's a tablecloth on the table and the mouse doesn't want to
Okay.
operate. So I apologize for delay. I am not from Vancouver.
No, you're not.
Seems like everybody's. I am actually Dr. Juan's neighbor and Cindy's neighbor whenever she is with Dr. Juan,
Where's that?
Jersey.
Jersey.
New Jersey.
Okay, cool. Do you have just one little win, just some little perk about what you've been reading so far, Yolanta, this time around? I know we've studied it before.
So yeah, so this time around, so this is the second time I'm reading the book. You know, I read it. We read it together. It was a while ago, maybe 4 years. So now I'm reading again, and I think I'm applying myself a little bit more. I think it's growing on me a little bit better this time. I'm having more fun with it.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, I'm trying to be diligent and studious and do whatever Juan says to do. Otherwise, you know, he gets so yeah, I read the chapter.
Oh, well, there you go. Happy to hear that I know it's like I've been through this book so many times and there's just like, there's much deeper and much deeper. Anyways, I love it as well. Let's move on to Shantae. I just want to hear your voice. I just want to have us all together. We're our circle of friends. We're lighting the match, the torch in the middle. And I just want to remind us where you're from, say your name, and maybe just a little something that you're getting from being here.
Let's see, my name is Shantae, and I am originally from New York, and I'm currently residing in Maryland. And I'm really enjoying showing up for the conversations here. I'm getting a lot out of the book, and just in the moment thinking about this chapter, how, you know, how things that, you know, are extraordinary in 1 minute become ordinary, you know, and how to stay with fresh eyes so that, you know, things don't just kind of lose their shine, you know, like get bored with it like a kid with a toy. So that was one of the things that was coming up for me in this particular chapter.
Nice. Very good. Thank you, Shantae. Julia, welcome to the call. Is your video available? There you are. Hey.
Hey.
So I want to hear everyone's voice. It's been a while, so I just want to hear your voice. And if you could just tell us your name and where you're from. We have a couple new folks here, and maybe just a little bit that you're getting before we let Juan take over and help us to absorb more of this.
Yeah, super awesome. I'm Julia. I am from Los Angeles, also known as the unclaimed land or unceded land of the Tongva or Gabrielino, or I think there's another word for the indigenous people here. But yeah, so that's where I am. And yeah, I think I've been coming since like the beginning, and I've been incredibly grateful for this way of integrating what's in the book. From this last chapter, honestly, I'm like coming right from work and still finishing something up. So I'm like, I remember I got a lot out of it. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that's why I'm here.
Yes. That's right. That's right. How real, how very real.
Thank you for seeing me.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Well, without any further ado, let's
Hey,
go
what
on.
about Cindy? What about
Oh, well,
Cindy?
you're right. You're right.
What about
Sorry.
Teresa?
Oh, okay. That's why we have each other here, because I'm just like, let's just zip us through. Okay, Cindy. Let us hear your voice. Beautiful.
Thank you, my beloved friend Teresa. I'm Cindy Presar, live in San Diego, born in Chicago, raised in Michigan, live in Jersey every 10 days for 10 days. I'm just a happy little traveler across the country. I never know where I'm at, but I'm a happy, happy, happy person. So one of the best things I've gotten from reality transurfing is learning how to drop importance. So I'm going to take a picture of everyone real quick. So smile. Nice to have you here, Tommy and Michelle. Hey, where's my, there we are. Okay, ready, set, and cheese. Okay, I got 3 pictures. So thanks everyone for being here. I'm going to hand it over to our illustrious leader, Dr. Juan Baez.
And Teresa,
We all have to
Teresa,
say something.
Teresa, what are you gonna share?
I thought that my voice, you'd heard it enough, but hey, I guess not. Well,
No.
let's see. I just, it's not really anything specific. It really is, you know what I guess it is? It's the slide work. I have to say that my life is really, like I really get that we're putting, that if I'm not consciously putting in a slide of what it is that I'm stepping towards, then there is stuff that's inundating me. So the slides are happening or I'm making them happen. So it's like an active activity that I'm just, it's happening, you know, like, and I mean, I love how in the book, you know, it's like, it's really, the slide process is really like layered and layered and layered and layered. And I don't remember, you know, at what point everybody's at here, but he talks about the slides being part of us in our everyday, you know, like, so, you know, imagining, like seeing my hand as I'm driving and imagining that my hand is the color of, you know, the tropics, right? Being in the tropics. And, you know, maybe the car I'm driving is different, but it's the dream car. But, you know, we add this into our life every day in every way. And so then it's like, that's how, and so it's really living in the slide. That's my takeaway from this book.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Very good. Do you mind letting me in? My computer crashed and I'm.
Oh, yes. There you are.
I'm on my phone, so I want to make sure I can see you all.
There you are now.
Faces.
Oh, it's still joining. Weird.
Yeah.
Okay, there you are. Okay, Juan, now you have to tell us. Let us hear your voice. Give us a little tidbit. What are you getting this time around? Time what? 8, 10, 12? Doesn't matter, but.
Beautiful. Well, well, I'm in New Jersey, so welcome you all. I know I've seen you, most of all of you, even Tom, right? Tom, of course we met you. I don't remember how many years ago we met you at Satyan, so that was fun. So I have great memories about it. Reviewing this book for me is so special. You know, it's really, yeah, it was Langley. It's a practice. For me, it's a practice. Every time that I review the chapters, oh yeah, there are a distinction. And there's so many, and the core in here is, we're gonna be drilling, I'll be drilling the rules, the transurfing rules, the pendulum rules, and how all this gets together. So it's just really beautiful. And the reason I love to do this in particular is because the more I read to explain, the more I make distinctions, you know, and I hope that that's what you are also getting as we go through this. You know, you hear me say it in some way, but you read it and you got an idea of it, and then you know, so you start making distinctions, distilling distinctions, and that you can apply, you know. So one of my practices, I don't know if you know, but if you go into YouTube, you could search reality transurfing chapter 16. We're in chapter 16, by the way. And there's the whole chapter read. So as you drive and go places and listen to that is really a great thing to do, because you make another distinction. Another distinction is quite interesting. So when you kind of read, it's great to listen to it. So I've had some commutes. And that reminds me, the chapter 16, I said that in particular is to remind those of you that are not, Michelle, are you used to the language of reality transurfing? Do you know much about it? You know a little bit about it? Or not really? This is all new language for you.
It's all new, all
Yeah.
brand new.
I'm going to be using a whole bunch of terms. This is chapter 16. That means we've been doing this probably for at least half a year or something like that, probably even more now. It's crazy. But what it is there's some language, like everything, right? It's a vocabulary. So if something just doesn't make sense, feel free to stop me and somebody here will help us understand. Because the idea here, remember, is a rise together. So we all want to, support each other and grow in any way that we can, okay? And the beautiful thing here, one of the big concepts is to be yourself and to allow others to be themselves without wanting to change them or do anything else. And I think that's kind of one of the most important lessons for this week. Be yourself and allow others to be themselves, So this morning I was having a conversation with another doctor. We're talking about COVID, vaccines, and how come people don't get the vaccine? It's impossible. Like, hey, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Let them be, right? But everybody sees things differently, and that's the beauty of being, right? And that's the core principle that I will say for this time. But there's so many more things to learn. And I hope to make to be fair to this chapter, because there's so much stuff. It's so beautiful. So let's proceed, and I hope all of you jump. Shante, you're being amazing. Carrie, Jolanta, Daniela, I love the way you're waking up and being more interactive. Even I know you haven't read it. Julia, I'm glad you're showing your face this time. Is amazing. So I'm happy. And Teresa, your energy and enthusiasm are lovely. And I love you too, Cindy G. So you're good. So let's start with this. The first part, this is just first paragraph. He starts talking about what you referred to, Shante, is the fact that reality constantly changes in appearance. But the rate always changes, but the rate is so slow that we don't notice it. And I love the way he compares it to the clouds. And it's such a powerful concept. We're not aware that so many things are changing. Actually, when people say, what are you doing? Same. Anything new? No. They're like, and every day is a new, beautiful, amazing day. But we don't. No, it's the same. Here I am at work doing the same thing. Here you are there. Hi, yeah, just same you know. But it's amazing. It's never the same. It's always changing if we're willing to pay attention. Reminder, awareness, right? Awareness. Am I aware, or am I completely dragged by the loads of things that I have to do? We're also busy doing, right? And whatever it is that we do in our lives. So we're not aware to what's happening. We're not aware of how the clouds change. There's always change happening. And that's one of his reminders. And then, of course, he starts diving into other interests. Everything is so interesting here. But one of his interests is the primary need that we all have. He says, what's the most important need that every human has? And he says, well, is it survival? That's what we always say, right? Oh, you have to work. Yeah, but really underneath it is that need to control, that need to believe that we have things under control. Our life is, we know what's going to happen. We have an idea. We all want to have this idea that we know what's next, right? When things are crazy, unpredictable, we know most people go bananas, even if they don't admit it. So that's what he said. The primary need, is to be able to independently manage our own lives, equal control over reality. And that's what, remember, transurfing, reality transurfing is all about, right? And games, we're talking about the games, right? Ways to distract yourself, to feel in control. A lot of the kids now, they are onto all these Xboxes and all these things because they think that they have control, right? With their fingers, their thumbs, they can, they killed, they did, they whatever, they created, is that idea. But concepts, pendulums are all these sources of energy that are continuously keeping us under control. Remember? And a reminder here throughout this chapter, I kept saying, oh my goodness, where else am I being conditioned or trapped? Where else my attention, my awareness is being distracted, conditioned, numbed by pendulums, by the rules of what I do. You know, so as a physician, I'm running, taking care of people, writing notes. And sometimes I'm like, wait, where am I being alert and aware of what I'm doing? Right? Or just driving. Sometimes you're driving and you're not even thinking what's happening. You know, it's so fascinating. So that's one of the questions right now. Where else in my life, your lives, you're so distracted by the things that you're doing that you're not aware of the beauty of the change in the clouds, which is really talking about your reality, how differently things really are. Sometimes even in terms of health, sometimes we don't listen to those signs that something is wrong with us because we're not taking care of ourselves. We're getting the pains, the discomfort, the things, the spots, you know. Just an example, that's true for relationships. We're in our life, in our connection with others, we're not listening to the pain points because we're ignoring our relationships, because we're not aware. So, of course, the goal of reality transurfing, the ultimate lesson, the ultimate purpose of reality transurfing is to have control of reality. And we've been talking about different points on how to achieve that one. So I'll hop in right now for a moment. Who remembers anything, what struck you about this chapter of the law of bad luck? You know that idea of the law of bad luck? When something could go wrong, bam, it's gonna go wrong. What do you remember about that? Who wants to say something so we can get off my voice for now, something different? Carrie, Shantae, I know you ladies are. No, not today. Okay. Julia, any thoughts? I know you're coming back, connecting. The law of bad luck. If something could go wrong, that's that the Sod law. You know, if something could go wrong, it will go wrong, right? And that's because we're conditioned, remember? This is a reminder of that, that concept of mind and heart alignment. Whenever we start worrying, this could go wrong, and you start feeding it with your emotions, you know, that leads to outer intention, and it goes for it. Anyway, Julia, go for it. You got a hint that you probably wanted to share something about that.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say what I remembered of it, but what you just said, way better.
No, go for it. Love to hear your voice. I want to make sure that the way you said it is so special that it lands in somebody else differently. And that's what I want to hear, everybody's understanding or concepts about this. Go for it.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, thanks. Yeah. I guess, yeah, it seems like, I guess the way I would have said it is, it seems like in the example that he gave of the letter, you know, that somebody wrote, it was like, you know, but I knew it couldn't last. It was too good to be true. So it's like within it, within the good luck is like the seed of the thing that's looking almost like tendrils that are sort of like searching for the bad luck, quote unquote, to come. Which reminded me of what I think another chapter talked about, where it was like, you know, if there's, you know, like if it feels like you're getting sort of puffed up, like with, you know, like, oh, this is great, like I'm just so great, aren't I great? Then you can kind of like give it like as gratitude to something bigger than yourself, to avoid that sort of destabilization.
I think you was talking about the angel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you're doing something really exciting and you're not sure, you don't want to just take all that credit. You say, "Oh, that's my guardian angel that's helping me." And anyway, yeah. Anyway, so little reminder, concepts, I guess, especially for Michelle, Tom. The concept is whenever we attribute excessive meaning to something, or a person, or a chore, or anything that we want, we create excess potentials, right? We'll remember that concept. Simple things are simple, But the moment I say, this is the pen, this is the pen, this is how it is, this is the best pen of all, blah, 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 the moment, then something starts to happen. We're disturbing the just beingness of it, the simplicity of it. So in the jargon of reality transurfing, it's called excess potential. And what happens is that the more that I start focusing on this, the more something wrong tends to happen. The more it doesn't work. You know, so have you heard that? Had this happened to you? You said, oh, this is the best thing that you should have. You should definitely all have this pen because the most amazing thing, let me show you. And it doesn't write. Have you had that when you say, this app is so amazing, let me show you. Oh, it's not working. Because they have you're coming with so much emotion, or whatever it is. Oh, this was such a great show. You know, and when people go and say, well, what was the big fuss about it? You know, it's good. So as a reminder of attributing excessive meaning to something tends to create all this disturbance, these excess potentials. And again, that leads to something that is not necessarily what we want. Now, if on top of that, we compare that or contrast it with others, then that leads to dependent relationships, right? Well, you're not as good as I am, you know, I'm strong, you're less than what I am, okay? And this makes things even worse, you know. So first you start, so anytime that you say whatever it is that you think about yourself is fantastic as long as you keep it with yourself, within yourself, for your own growth, right? It's fine. The challenge is when we start saying, well, I'm better than you, then stuff starts to happen, right? That triggers all these balancing forces, right? That immediately start bringing you challenges, you know, and difficulties. And that's where the law of bad luck starts arising. That's where you say, well, but I was just talking about how good I am compared to you. If we're talking about how smart I am compared to you or whatever else. So to the others, or we are better than they are. Remember, so be mindful. This reminder is, you know, there's no need to bring up all these comparisons, okay? Because then we disturb the balance and the clash happens, okay? It's like when you're looking for something desperately, you know, and then for some reason you cannot achieve it. Everything gets on the way, you know, and it's all that excess energy that we put into it. So it's a reminder on how sometimes we call in the bad luck. Okay, that's the mechanism underlying it. Any shares, any experiences that you've had where this has manifested in your life?
Well, maybe I just wanted to say something, if I may.
Please.
So, I mean, when Vadim talks about that law of the bad luck in sensu stricto, right? He says that you get what you don't want, which is the law that I would say it's most prevalent in our lives because of our negativity bias. So most of the time we do think about the things that we do not want. That's why life turns crappy here and there. So it does look like the law of the bad luck is working. I understand that concept. Yeah, and he says, I think I even wrote it down specifically. You know, you get what you don't want if your aversion to whatever you don't want to get, it's intense, right? So that intensity is what creates the excess potential. So talking about the intensity, I guess maybe our personalities play into it, right? So yeah, I understand the aversion and intensity on the aversion of what we don't want. that would have that negative impact. And but what about the intensity of things that that are good and that we do want? You know, I personally get very excited and very happy over a lot of things, like very even small things. So I don't know, should I be worried every time I'm happy? I mean, I like gel pens. I can't say that this is the best one, and I won't tell you that you should have it, but it makes me happy when I do use the gel pen. And yes, my material things will make me happy. So maybe even excessively. I really like driving my car. So I don't know, am I creating an excess potential when I tell her the compliment that she's such a good car and things like that? Or I don't know, do we have to be as careful in being excessively happy in the way we, you know, when we go the other way? So maybe you can clarify that.
Well, who wants to
Go
jump
into
in?
depression.
Who wants to jump in? Carrie, what do you think? What have you learned? You're experiencing, you're enjoying, you're manifesting. What's your
This
what's
is
your take?
exactly the question I ask myself all the time, Yolanda. I'm like, oh shit, the balancing forces, oh shit. Because you know, I even get excited about going to the mailbox, which is supposed to be super neutral. So I'm actually asking the same question. My method of dealing with it is to just constantly give gratitude and be thankful to the angels, to try to not get the balancing forces. But I get all excited and I'm like, oh shit, balancing forces. But I don't want to be like that, oh my God, so there's something bad coming, because that's never been how I've lived my life. So finding that balance through it is very interesting. But I did have a fun little one this week. I kept thinking, wouldn't mind going to a pedicure? Wouldn't mind getting a pedicure? And I had about as much excitement about it as you do with the mailbox. But it was just ticking away in my brain. I was still in bed on Saturday morning and a friend called. She has a monthly appointment with a friend of hers who canceled. So it was like, oh, I just thought about it. It was delivered. I didn't have any extra excitement about it. It was a fantastic morning and it felt like a real treat during a pandemic. So yeah, I don't know if I'm navigating it well or don't have a clue, or if any of that even helps.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm glad you see, Yolanda, you brought a very powerful question. Anybody else has that question? Or anybody has a suggestion? Shante, I think you had it. What's your take? I think these are all great things to discuss and get our perspectives on how this works. Remember, there's no answer. There's nobody knows the answer. It's not like I know the answer. I can tell you my point of view, but let's all experience it. We've all been playing with this for the longest. I think these are powerful distinctions. So let's go for it. Yes, Shante.
I would agree with Carrie as far as like giving gratitude. It makes me think of Jesus, right? Every time Jesus did something, he said, it's not me, it's my Father in heaven. And I just think that that's just a wonderful reminder of, you know, being able to say, you know what, I'm not doing this on my own. There's something greater than myself that I'm more connected to, and then give that over. And I think that's what the angels are about. You know, my angels are doing it for me. My guardians are doing it for me. And also, I guess it also for me leaves space for just being a vessel, you know, that I can just let things flow. Because I think for me, my issue is trying to control. And just surrendering in a way that I can just let things flow and continuing to stay in gratitude. Because I think gratitude is a form of being happy and excited as well. Like when I'm in gratitude, I feel like this amazing love and joy and happiness. And so, yeah, to practice staying in gratitude, I think helps with the balancing forces, at least for me.
Yeah. So So thank you. Anybody else has any thoughts about this? Daniela? What's your take on being too excited and happy about simple things in life, to put it like that?
Personally, I don't feel that there's anything wrong with feeling your feelings, whether you're excited about it or upset about it or depressed about it. I think they're all valid feelings depending on what's happening and how you perceive and react to whatever it is. Um, I'd like to, with what Shantae just said, um, I get what you're saying about, the gratitude and being a vessel and everything. But I would just add to that it's okay to take credit for creating happiness in your life. Don't have to say or assume that, it just happened for no reason or for not having attachment to something. I think it's great. Take responsibility for the good and the bad stuff, right? It's just my own take on it. Maybe because I feel very responsible, or I take great responsibility for both the good and the bad in my life, even though sometimes I think, oh, if just the laws could be a little bit more fair or just, life would be so much more easier or more fair, to make me more happier. Yeah, I guess it depends what it is, right? Like there are certain things that you just don't have any control over and they could make you, upset or happy. Yeah, I don't know.
Thank you.
It's a
Teresa?
balancing act, like with everything else, I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Daniela. Teresa?
I recall Vadim telling us that when we put our attention on the way, so he calls it the wave of fortune, and so when something good happens and we see it, we're excited about it, we share it, we really, like, we don't just let it go away, we carry it on. That's what creates a wave of fortune. And so I think it's perfect to be happy and excited about it. I think that what the point that was brought up is that if we take all the credit ourselves, if we think it's very important, but having a celebration about it, I think is, yeah, bring it on. That's my say.
Beautiful. So you see, we brought all this. I love when you all participate because you reminded us of the wave, fortune or success, right? Celebrating is powerful. And he's talking, I don't know if we're going to review it on the next few chapters, but there are emotions that are good to have. Love is an emotion that you can never have enough of. By itself is never bad, right? Celebration, great gratitude. There's never enough of that. Have as much as you want, of course, Probably the word that comes is always a little bit of awareness. And I think his point in this bad luck in particular was excessive. The word was excessive meaning. That's the whole thing. You did great, celebrate, of course. But the moment you start saying, yeah, I have this gel pen, now I can go and, defeat the world. Well, then, be careful, So I don't know, whatever it is, those are the little concepts. The concept which I just reviewed is excessive meaning attributed to anything. It's just that awareness, but celebrate, of course. And in general, positive emotions, those we should use, and probably later we're going to talk about anything that we can use that is positive. Any of the positive emotions, we should use them to manifest, which is what Teresa just said. So not only to stay in that circle, one of the concepts, Michelle, or the newbies, one of the big concepts of reality transurfing is that there's multiple versions of this moment of us here. We're all in peace, calm, quiet together. That's one version. but at the same time, it could be a terrible version where we're all angry, upset, and cold, and sick, and whatever. There's so many variations to any moment, any second, any place, okay? So we can actually have an effect on how these things manifest, depending on our attitude, our approach to it, right? Our power to it. So, being aware of how we're responding is what allows us to modify reality, move into sector spaces where different things appear, right? So, and we just reviewed in a previous chapter, Daniela, you just remind me this. Sometimes we have no power over what appears to be, but we always could exert our power on the meaning that it has for us. Remember coordination? When things appear bad, it said, okay, what could I learn from this? What is the lesson from here? You know, so I'm trying to grab some of the concepts. So Yolanda, bottom line, now celebrate as much as you can. Always, never feel bad about it. Sherry, do more of that. You know, of course, it's good. Actually, use that energy, you know, to ride the wave of fortune, as Teresa told us. Okay, and then use it as well to get into your slide, which is another way to say, use that moment to see your goal fully realized in present time, right? So there, yeah, always, by all means. So there's no such thing. It's just when you overdo it, you know, and then you make the other little challenge, mistake. There's no mistake. There's just behaviors that we have, which is comparing with others. That's the reminder. When you said this pen is the one that, you know, it's the only pen, and then you make others or other situations or other things down or worse or whatever. Those are the two challenges that he reminds us in terms of how to use this situations. So what is the solution? Is the first step. Main rule of transurfing. Be yourself and let others be themselves. Loosen your grip and give the world free rein. So you want to celebrate? Celebrate. Just do whatever. That's fine. You know, anybody tries to say, no, Yolanda, don't do that. That's a mistake. That's, you know, that's trying to do something, controlling the world. There's no such thing, right? Don't change anybody. Just let them be. So like the next chapter is, everything happens to spite you. Everything happens to spite you, okay? And again, it's the same thing. The more we disturb the balance, the more things happen, you know, to create energy loss. It's all about energy, right? And of course, pendulums manage to grab this energy, you know, and manage to get us more irritated. So in other words, many things are all the time testing our awareness, right? Testing how present we are. Anything tends to irritate us. And if we're not aware, we just give away that energy. And the answer to this one, in a nutshell, is awareness. To catch yourself, oh, am I overreacting to something? Right? And I think this is one of the big points on the summary is one of those little mantras. In this moment, I am awake, and I'm clearly aware of what I'm doing, why, and how I'm doing it. Remember that little sentence? So just remember, in this moment, I'm aware, you know, of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and wherefore I'm doing it. Just a reminder, just the awareness. So that way we don't let things get us off balance and we start wasting energy. Any thoughts, comments about that? Nope, we're good? Okay. The law of the pendulum. What do pendulums want? Pendulums are, for newcomers, what are pendulums? Who wants to venture? What is a pendulum?
Want our energy.
Pendulums want our energy, yeah, those things. In the jargon of reality transurfing, what is pendulums? Dum, dum, dum. Who wants to want? Just throw something. Shante, what is a pendulum?
The only thing that really comes to mind is energy zappers. Like they take your energy, they get you all twisted up in things so that they feed off of that energy.
Yeah, thank you. Any other takers? Carrie, this is great. This is really good.
Anytime a group of people get together with similar energy, be it negative or positive, it feeds that pendulum. So it could be like one of those wave things at the soccer game that dissipates fast, or could one of the examples was, the rock star who creates that energy super fast and then boom, it's gone. Or it could be, the meteor, which is just stirring up trouble and polarizing to create a situation where people are comparing to feed off a whole pile of negative energy and build it and build it and build it. And they're the ones we don't want to get trapped in.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so any other thoughts? Any other, Julia? And pendulum. We're good? Jolanta, pendulums? You always have the little, any other additions to?
I think pretty much everybody is like right on the point, right? Those entities that are created by accumulation of the energy of the same frequency, right? Which could be, yes, either positive or negative. So I think for us it's just to know that they there, be able to discern and make a choice. Do I want to be part of that pendulum? Can I be? In what degree? And yeah, just be aware that this is the phenomenon that exists, and just so we take a right stand towards them rather than
Teresa.
being scared or
Thank you. Thanks, Jolanta. Teresa.
The point that I was going to make, Yolanta just made, with it being that pendulums are not a negative or a positive, they just are. And actually, to further that, we all actually are a pendulum. If we want success, we actually have to become a pendulum. It's just part of it's like we have to get people on our page. So it's not good or bad, we have to be conscious. And that statement that you said, that quote one, I think that we all need to have that printed here, printed there, everywhere. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing?
We're aware of why. We're aware of those things, right? We're aware. The awareness is always the key word. Thank you. Yeah, so I'll tell you something. I kind of made a distinction this time. I always had this idea that a pendulum happens when, somebody said it, when at least two people get together and they're thinking on the same wavelength. So it could be, what if, Carrie, you and I said, hey, let's start a spa or a gym. So we create a business, and now we start writing all these things that they write on marketing and say how good we are and how great. And if you come here and you do it this way, you're going to be an amazing body. We create a pendulum. That is a pendulum. It's not different from religion. We believe on this. We believe on plants. So those of you, let's create this new world of believe in plants, because plants are powerful and plants will join us with whatever. So now you create the pendulum of the believers on plants. And now for us not to disappear as believers of plants, we need to get other people to believe it, so it gets the pendulum moving. Because by itself, it's not alone, not enough, right? So we start convincing others, getting others to believe about it. And sometimes we create we create conflict, because it doesn't matter if people believe on the plants. It's also if they talk about it, that we know that others are going to hear about the power of plants, and then we're going to get it. So the whole thing is, it doesn't really matter if you just agree with me, as long as you're willing to give me your attention about the plant issue, good or bad. This pendulum of plants grows and gets stronger, right? So that's the beauty of it. But here comes the interesting thing. So bottom line is, Therese, and you all said, everything, we all are in a way a pendulum, right? You're selling your story. You're trying to do something. You convince me, come here, join me, join us, do this, whatever, right? And every pendulum by definition wants to get your attention. And we normally talk about it like politics, religion, businesses. They want you to wear this thing, use this deodorant, use this toothpaste. This food is better. Everything is trying to grab your attention. Read this book. This is the new way of doing it, whatever you call it. So we know the pendulums by definition wants to grab our attention. And once they grab our attention, then we're distracted from our purpose. So that's where pendulums, the awareness of pendulums is so important in this work. Because the idea is that we want to keep our energy center, we want to be aware of it, so we can use it towards our goal, which whatever it is for each of us is independent, is what, we're talking about creating reality, right? So, but here comes the interesting thing, and my little extra distinction for this time is this is something that happens, it's not necessarily, it just happens anytime you start thinking so anytime two ideas, an idea starts to form, in essence, it creates a pendulum. It's inherent to anything that we do. Pendulums are inherent to everything that we do, right? In anything that you do, you want to convince somebody of something. The challenge is that sometimes we're not aware of it. And what happens is that energy builds on its own and then starts rolling on its own. And when if we're not aware of it, suddenly we lose track, we lose awareness. And that's where things don't go the way, don't necessarily go well. Does it make any sense? Did that make sense? Everything starts well, but the moment we lose awareness, that same energy that initially moves us to do something suddenly turns into something bad. So let's say religions, they're always being good, they're all good, but there's a moment where they lost track of things, and then what was that? Where there were wars because of religions and crazy things like that. They lost their purpose, their meaning. They started fighting for the craziest things on earth. But it wasn't necessarily them, it's just the energy that was underneath it that numbed people, and they started fighting without even being aware of what they were doing, these things, right? So that's the whole thing of the pendulum. So pendulums have a rule. What's the rule from pendulums? Who remember what's the rule from pendulums? I read that, let's all read Yolanda's lips. What is that? You see? You all read it? Do as I do. That's what pendulums want. They want us all to comply. They want us all to do whatever pendulums do. Whatever is your pendulum in your life, what is it that it wants you to do? Right? Depends what you're dealing with stuff, So just remember, pendulums want us, to do as they do. And they will always manage to do things to make sure that happens. So that's quite interesting. Pendulums will always do everything possible to inflame the energy of any conflict. They will always bring it up. Okay? So wake up and be aware of how pendulums are trying to manipulate us now. And there's a whole chapter on pendulums, on how to become aware of it, how to avoid being stuck by them. Okay? Act in a different way, do something unusual. You have a question, Shante, or a share?
Yeah, I was going to say that he was saying that that even though there are different types of pendulums, they're all destructive, but to varying degrees. So I'm trying to understand, because that's what I got, that whether it's positive energy or negative energy, it's creating this situation that it can feed off of. That's what a pendulum does. Am I correct in
Yes.
understanding?
Yes.
Okay.
You're right. Now, somebody mentioned it before. The trick is to be aware of it.
Right.
And if it's a pendulum that you agree with, if it's a
Mhm.
pendulum that will support your mission, then you join it.
Right.
There's nothing wrong about opening a gym and being part of the gym that, I don't know what, I mean, CrossFit. Who does CrossFit here? Nobody. Good. So I can talk about CrossFit. CrossFit, they're a little crazy. They're amazing. They're so powerful, but it's a competition. They're so powerful. It's crazy. There's so many injuries as well. Okay. But they're amazing. You know, so I'm not here to say it's bad. It's just I'm saying they're amazing, but they're a little cuckoo. There's nothing about that. But if you're my daughter, my dear daughter, she loves it because she's bored in a regular gym. She cannot take a little regular gym or having just an instructor. She needs to go there and they all go on their boards and they did it a little better and they participate. The way they work, it's amazing, but it helps her grow and do better. And that's her pendulum. It's fantastic.
Mhm.
You know, there's nothing bad about this pendulum wanting them to do it this way. And I'm talking about a benign pendulum. Okay. So whatever it is, just as towards the end of this chapter, he talks about those famous bands, right? The Beatles, for example. So the Beatles were always the same Beatles. For many years, they were singing and doing the stuff and nobody paid attention to them. Until somehow they start creating resonance. Their songs, the ways they did it, they started creating vibration, meaning a pendulum started to get created.
Mhm.
And as the pendulum created started to swing harder and harder, to the point that, to the point that that they became as famous as they did. But was it because they changed it? The question is, how come for so long they were just the same old them and nobody paid attention to them? That's the effect of a pendulum. You need those pendulums. When the pendulum hit in, they became amazingly powerful. Well, that's true for anything else, because remember, pendulums are just bottom line. The point is, pendulums just arise anytime that there's a frequency vibration of doing things.
Mhm.
Right? Whenever you want to sell something, you want a pendulum. You want to be your own pendulum, right? You want to get others to believe, buy it, support it, go for it. So in that way, your product gets extremely, how you call it, grows in demand. That's what we all want. So there's nothing wrong about pendulums except being aware of when they're dragging you and when they're taking all your energy, and when they're distracting you from your own purpose. And somewhere in this chapter, he says, well, this process of the pendulums conditioning us, it starts when we're very young. When our parents, with all their amazing wisdom, puts us into certain classes, or puts us into certain beliefs, or put us into certain activities. For example, he says summer camps, right? Where you start going to a summer camp and then they teach you how you should act and the things that you need to do in order to be successful, right? And if you're not aware, then you believe that that's the way to do things. And you keep doing it in that way without being aware of what's going on there. You start thinking that, well, this is what I learned in my camp, that you need to do it this way. And then they forget their own little passions, their own ways of being. And that's why the reminder throughout this chapter is become aware of who you are, the amazingness of who you are. Love yourself the way you are, with all these imperfections and beautiful things that we all have, right? Honor that, but then also honor others. And become aware that there's always going to be energies, people, he calls it pendulums, that want to steer you and drag you, in directions that are different from what you really, or which you should really be going and doing. Right? So wake up and be aware of the way pendulums are trying to manipulate us. Yes, you can write any questions, just as you just did, Stephanus. The pendulum rule. We talk about this. Do as I do. Oh, talks about sex. Let's talk about sex. So, who wants to volunteer that one? Go for it. You're muted. You're muted.
I was volunteering, Yolanta.
Oh, okay, Jolanta, you were volunteer. Motion.
No, I
Oh,
said
look at that,
Cindy.
Julia's
I
saying,
said
yeah.
Cindy first. After Cindy. Come on, Cindy, you first.
You know what? I wasn't paying attention. I was reading the chat window and I was seeing that stuff.
Oh, no, we just want to talk about sex, and your sex life is so awesome. Come on, let's start with you. You don't have to tell us who with. Just tell us about sex.
Wait, I want
Sex
Lauren.
and reality transurfing.
Lauren's got a big smile on his face. Come on, Lauren. You haven't said anything yet. Come on, Lauren.
You're muted, Lauren.
I was gonna say sex is good. It's healthy, very healthy. You're either growing together, or growing apart. There's no in between.
Sex and reality transurfing. Carrie. No volunteer. You're all shy. Okay. Okay. Jolanta, they really want to hear your voice on sex and reality transurfing. Please, yes, not the other stuff. Maybe we all want to, but maybe forget reality transurfing. Tell us about sex, Jolanta.
Well, me, the grandmother of 4, the mother of 4. Okay, I guess I'm the one with the experience. I mean, maybe put it like in a question. Otherwise, we have to spend here 40 days and 40 nights once I start talking. So put it in the question for me, Juan.
That's sweet. Okay.
I'll make it
So
really
what's the challenge what is Vadim's bottom line regarding sex? What's the challenge, that the way he sees it, and then what he says? What's the simple? It's a very simple formula, he says.
Yeah,
No?
yeah. I think his challenge, and the way he explained it was exactly the pendulums, right? We are probably unaware how conditioned we are in the field of sex, and mainly by pendulums, right? From even when the kids, when they, like teenage boys, for instance, right? Or girls, for that matter. Let's say they start watching anything, the literature, the movies, and this, and we all know that what is being presented to them, it's not real, right? There's some scripted version which is far from reality, but we being under the vice of that particular pendulum. So by the time we ready to engage in that activity, we conditioned, we already have that notion that that's how it's supposed to look like. So that brings with it that unnecessary baggage, because rather than giving into the experience, we become acutely aware of the whole process. How is it going to be? How is it going to start? What's going to happen in the middle? How is it going to end? Am I doing it right? Is he doing it right? So instead of having it as a natural experience, ideally the expression of the love of people involved, we go into that mental torture. And that's all because of, the way sex is being presented in the media and everywhere else. The version which has very little to do with reality. So I think for us, it's to realize that probably there is no such thing as bad sex. And knowing that this is a unique experience for the parties involved, and just use it, give into the whole feeling without really expectation. Oh, am I gonna come before him or after him? Is he going to wait for me or not? If he goes first, will I have enough time to go right after him? I'm sorry. so and that pretty much ruins it, and then because of that, because of sometimes unrealistic expectation or plain ignorance, like Lorne had, it can either make it or break it, a relation, right? So that's like I think Vadim said, if you go on the whole stadium, and actually if you ask the people who really would say that they have no problem, you can count them on maybe fingers of your two hands. So we think that everybody's sex life is so great and ours is so terrible. And once we think that, then we screwed in the head in the negative way.
Beautiful. Thank you. That was really good, right? That's really good. It's you just nailed it. You just nailed it. We're all so conditioned. You said body figures. We should be this big. We should be this small, this tall, this whatever. Just the way we are. The whole thing is pendulums will convince us that we're not good enough. Bottom line, in some way, physically, or the way you do it, or the way you talk, or the way you introduce yourself, or the way you date, or the way everything. That's what they try to do. And then, as you were saying, the whole performance act. So they essentially try to set the benchmark of how it should be done. But sex is just an example right now of how everything else is as well. The way we should eat, the way we should work out, the way we should dress, the way we should talk, the way we should, who we should be. We should be professionals or not professionals, or do this. Or there's always this idea that we have to follow or copy somebody else. Right? Instead of just being aware, being fully present, and let it develop as it happens. That's the challenge, right? Who has a challenge with that? Just being fully present, instead of, I should do this, I should hold this. He talks about something fascinating. He talks about something fascinating between the difference between sex and love. Did you enjoy that difference between sex and love? Love being this affection, sex being more aggressive. So sometimes in that moment, you're like, should I feel like aggressive, but no, I should hold. I should be nice. I should, I should. The moment we should ourselves, right? In something that should be as, two people connecting with each other, loving each other, right? Accepting each other's differences and being free to express whatever comes up. But no, we have I should hold, this is the right way, or whatever else. That was a very, very powerful chapter in that section. And I think you just summarized it beautifully. Any shares, any questions? Yes, Michelle.
So I just put it in the chat thing. I mean, I haven't read the book, but just in hearing how you're speaking about these pendulums, it sounds on one hand as though they are, you're almost speaking about them as though they are kind of a separate malevolent entity, but it also sounds like a pendulum is something that we are creating by the energy that we are giving to it. So can you put some clarity on that?
May I ask that you repeat the question? I was a little distracted. I was reading and then it got distracted. So you were saying that they're malevolent in a way, but what?
It sounds the way you're describing pendulums as though they were sort of somehow separate and malevolent kind of entities, as though they were independent of us and have their own kind of desires and agendas. And yet at the same time, it also seems like we are creating a pendulum by the energy that we're putting into a particular thought or aspect or thing, product or purpose or whatever, that we're putting the energy there. So which is it from your point of view, or from
Both.
the way it's
Both.
Okay.
Both. Anytime that my thought resonates with yours and we decide to get together and do something, that's a pendulum, right? You may start with a good intention, but then it turns into, then what happens, it's all good. And anybody that wants to join it, if they're aware why they're joining us, is perfectly okay. But there just happens to be a moment where some people just start fighting about it and they don't even know why. That's the moment. There's a moment where that energy becomes completely independent from you and I, that were the creators, the original creators of it. Okay? Because that's just the tendency that energy has. Energy has a tendency, whenever there's two of them, to clump and get together and get bigger. Okay? And at that moment is where all it wants is to grab more energy from wherever it comes to get stronger. If it cannot do that, it will vanish, and that'll be the end of that pendulum. It's a game of energy. So pendulums start usually with a good intention. But yes, at some point may become very negative, especially if you're not aware. It's all about a matter of awareness on where we're giving it. In the case of sex, as we were talking about it, it's all these rules that we think we should be stronger, whatever, do it in different ways. These rules, a lot of these pendulums lead to conditionings, right? And then we end up stuck doing things in some way because we're not aware of what's happening there. And instead of I think the reminder is to don't get trapped by all those beliefs from different sources. Just be present, be yourself, and enjoy the person in front of you the way she is, or he is, or they are. Did that help a little bit?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other? I love when you all intervene and bring your own sauce to this, because it delivers the message even better. Any other opinions, shares? No, we're good. In relationships, he reminds us of the principle of frailing, and he adds it into relationships, right? Remember, very important. Let go of the intention to receive. Most of us all the time want to get something from somebody. What am I going to get there? Okay. What am I going to get there? I want this, right? And what he recommends us is, what he says, the principle of transurfing, the frailing, is to surrender that you want to receive and give it. You want more love? Give love. Your attention? Give attention. Whatever it is that you want to receive, give it. And then eventually that thing that you want will come. How, when, that's not to be expecting and then start wondering when it's going to come. I'm doing this and nothing is coming. No, you just give it full-heartedly, and it will just return to you. As this principle of frailing, which we talked about, by the way, a few weeks ago. Okay, so remember that one powerful concept. Whenever you want something, okay, you just give it. The big challenge in life most of the times is we don't know that we're always waiting for something to happen. And we just knew that that's precisely what we need to give. That's what we need to offer. Is that fairly clear? Good, especially in relationships. So to be fulfilled, by sex in a relationship, you have to feel free and uninhibited, right? Be able to express and do whatever. In relationship and understanding. When we refuse to follow the pendulum rules of do as I do, and walk our own path, we acquired inner freedom. So the question always is, where am I just following conditionings? In what areas of my life am I just trapped by the way it should be done? I can tell you something that I've been interestingly busy at work, and my work involves seeing patients in some way, writing some notes in some way, doing it in a special way. And sometimes the more I have to do that, somewhere in the doing, I get completely lost and I'm done, you know. And these readings are reminders of that. Oh my goodness, where am I? Where did I lose myself? Where did I forget that I'm here interacting with somebody, and it suddenly turned into writing notes, you know, sending the bills to the insurance companies, and you know, you just get trapped into that world of, and that's just my world, you know. Whereas it's like, whew, okay, yeah, I see myself doing this stuff. Why am I doing it? How am I doing it? Why do I choose to do this? What's the purpose of? Remember, I'm awake, I'm aware of why I'm doing it, why, how, and what for. In anything that you do in your life, this is the reminder. How do we do that? Okay. Why? Because if we're not aware, pendulums will just keep sucking the energy, right? He talks about indigo, and I know somebody claims herself to be an indigo. So without further ado, the chapter of indigo comes to Yolanta again. Tell us about indigos, Yolanta.
Wow. First sex, now the indigo. Okay. Well, I mean, I really got fascinated by this chapter, and yeah, you know, I think I am the indigo person. I have to go to Sedona and have my aura photographed, and I'm gonna be really disappointed if it's talking about important.
If it's not blue violet or whatever.
No blue violet, I'm gonna be red. On the other spectrum. Yeah, that was a very interesting chapter. I like the way, you know, Vadim wrote that chapter, and it kind of makes sense. He did say that that there was the new kind of energy that came to this planet, and that would be somewhere in the 50s. So although I am 39, I was born in the 50s. Don't ask me. It's just, you know, at the time, you know, there's no concept of time in the space reality. So yeah, so he would say, you know, that these were probably the first indigo children, and then by now they have their children and this. So I think this day we kind of would associate like loosely the indigo with the ADD, which is not entirely true. The reason why I thought that I was the indigo child was that I really have that very acute awareness of what was going on around me in the very, very early age. So I have some memories going back when I was 2 years old. I think, yeah, I was 2 years old. My mother was sick because she had tuberculosis, and she was in that it's kind of like a hospital, like for the to recover from the tuberculosis. And so I remember that at the time I was with my mother's brother, so they were kind of raising me. So I already had that memories of like being in the crib, and seeing that the little spindles in the crib, and being very unhappy that I'm there. So that would be, and then later on, by the time I was 4, I could remember everything. And and like I said, so the same thing, you know, I would have awareness of things that the child really shouldn't have the awareness of, like the inequalities that they were going on, the way I was treated comparing to other kids. So I think that was maybe the first thing, that my hyperacute awareness in the very, very early age. And the second thing would be, yes, as far as the authorities, I never ever wanted to listen to anyone in school. I remember grammar school, and even in high school, I always had a problem with the discipline. And if it wasn't for my, thank you God, for my very, very good mind, and maybe I would be expelled because of my behavior. But yeah, that was usually coming from not really liking to do what I was told, and especially that most of the time I knew that, you know, what I was told, it wasn't something, you know, that I wanted to do. So that kind of, you know, resonated with me. And then, you know, like different things which, you know, which pointed to me being that intuitive person. You know, I remember when being in the 5th grade, you know, I decided that I have to learn English. You know, me, 11 years old, and I bought like one book. There was only one book available, like a self-learned book in English, because, you know, I had that desire to learn this language. Although in school I had Russian, and later on French, some other languages, never English. So in that early age, I already somehow intuitively knew that, you know, that would be the language that that I wanted, I would need desperately being here. And then other very early mature decisions that I made, like being a physician at the early age, right? About the same time, 4th, 5th grade, I believe. Well, some of it was stemmed by being around my mother who was sick. But, you know, that was, I think, for 11 years old to decide, yes, I want to be a doctor. So that was, so these were those, yeah, those things that I think Vadim said, that these are the characteristic of this indigo children, you know, now the adults. And so kind of when I was reading this chapter, I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah, hell, yes, I'm totally indigo, you know, totally loving it. So I think that's all. Do I have ADD? I don't think so. Maybe like some of the OCD. Not really ADD. Maybe not really. When I if I have to study, I can totally concentrate for many hours. So probably not the ADD, more of the OCD. And
I think you just summarized it beautifully, Jolanta.
Yeah,
just your experience of it, you know, tell us what an indigo, you know, which he says that, right? Independence, awareness, individuality, and intuition. Those are the characteristics. They don't doubt their worth. They know their worth. So no matter what anybody tries to impose, as you were sharing, they try to impose all these things. You just have this kids that, you know, they're different. They just don't take your BS. They just don't believe anything that is said just like that, right? So that's the beauty of it. And, you know, and but here comes the trick. They do it naturally. They don't need all this reality transurfing to become aware that there's a pendulum and it's trying to suck our energy, that I'm creating a polarity, you know, and something is happening and balancing forces. It's just natural to them to know their worth, to know their individuality, to go for their goals, for the things that they want. You know, to be fully present without being driven, taking away by pendulums. And it's a natural thing, So yeah, no, I know I was completely opposite. I was completely driven by whatever was taking me and shaking me away all the time growing up. So that's the pendulum. Good. I know we have about 5 more minutes. A few more things. Energy lords. Energy lords. It's all about how our energy is being sucked, right? Little reminder. He talks about alcohol, things like alcohol, like drugs. Okay, they give you a hyper, but then you pay it back at some point. So to be mindful. But then we kind of know that intuitively. But then the reminder is that many other things behave like that we're not aware of. Foods, some foods, when we are attracted to foods, cookies, popcorn, whatever it is that you have in your life, right? Hobbies, some hobbies, if you're not aware of why you're doing it, remember awareness of why I'm doing it or whatever, okay? Then you get trapped by these things, okay? And your energy gets sucked away, okay? Computer time, phones. Nowadays, the phone, you start looking there, you look at Facebook and bloop, completely trapped. Your energy, you kind of say, oh, this is so exciting. I'm looking at this stuff. And little you know that I don't know how many hours have passed. And what you wanted to do is completely gone. That's the type of energy he's reminding us what's happening here, to be aware. Alcohol, food, computer, smoking, or anything, hobbies, anything you can think of where you're not aware of, you're not awake enough to be aware of why you're doing it, how you're doing it, what for. Does it make sense? Okay, so that's in a nutshell. And his reminder is that whenever you're doing any of these things, if you choose to do a toast, make a toast, to use your slide, your goal towards that in present time. Remember that one? So you're going to say, when you wish for, say, oh, we all wish for money in the future. No, we don't wish for love. We don't, make sure that whenever you toast, whenever you ask for something, you ask it in present time. We're celebrating life, we're celebrating love, we're celebrating wealth, abundance that's around me right now. The love, the presence, you're carrying your love, your enthusiasm. This is here now. Not to keep thinking or wondering one day we're going to get it. Right? Does it make sense? And the last section was on declaration of intention. Declare. Remember we talk about intention? Intention, you don't hope, you don't wish, you intend. And that kind of summarizes it in a nutshell. Is when you have this dispassionate and unconditional will without having to explain it. Because whatever it is that you want, whatever your goal is, just go for it, dispassionately and unconditionally. And you don't have to explain to anybody why it is. Why is it your beautiful house? What is a beautiful relationship? What is the incredible amount of money? What's incredible amount of whatever it is that you want? Yep, it's fine. It's mine. And he gives the example with all the different bands and stuff, right? When they were in the most challenging times, they will always say, we're moving to the top, to the top, to the top. They had no doubt about it. So that's intention. No hope, no wish, no desire. It's just the knowing. There's no emotions there, there's no fear, that we've learned how to deal with those, right? It's just the knowing that we move along and we achieve what we want. Any shares? Julia?
Oh, this is just a super, super, super. I feel like I've written down so many of these things. Yolanta, I loved what you had to say about sex. Thank you so much. And about being an indigo child, like super, super interesting, and really brings home for me that little bit of the chapter, like to hear about your experience. So thank you for that.
Daniela, whatever share you want to have from today, what do you want to share from today?
I'd just like to say thank you for everybody's sharing and, their views and their input and their experiences. I find it's always very interesting to gather little nuggets from everybody else's experiences, and certain things resonate for me, and then, you know, um, other things may not resonate, and that's okay too. So thank you. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this, even though I don't get the chance to read the entire chapter. I'm happy to be here and part of this. Still getting a lot out of it. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Shante?
Oh, I was just responding to the chat because who was it? I think Julia just put in what I was going to say, basically to be yourself and let others be themselves. It's, yeah, that's what really resonates with me right now.
Beautiful. Yes, probably I agree. That's what it was. Be yourself and let others be themselves. Beautiful. Carrie?
I first read this chapter last July when I was still in the midst of all those neighbor problems. So rereading it this time was quite amusing because I'm now removed from that situation. Thank God. And when you were talking about the things taking our attention away from what we're supposed to be doing, Yolanda, you summed it up perfectly a few weeks back when you said that you set a timer for every hour to make sure you're awake. And when I'm in my office, I try to remember to do that with, changing my stand-up desk or something. And then, Juan, you also mentioned about you making the notes and everything. And I've been trying to be a lot more aware and present with my clients, remembering what do they need from me and how can I best be of service to them? And just trying to bring that mindfulness to everything. And then I love some of the indigo stuff, Yolanda. I had something earlier this week because I kind of consider myself as me and I make decisions about me, and I always have. And obviously I don't ignore other people's needs, but that's not my main concern. However, I also make decisions as my children's mother, and those decisions might be different to the decisions I would make for myself. So at the moment, there's a lot of vaccine stuff going on, and I thought I'd ask the girls what they thought. They both separately gave me a very similar response, which was, you make the craziest decisions based on the weirdest factors, and they always work out. And when I said to my eldest, I said, thank you. She said, I am not giving you any credit. And I just thought this summed it all up so beautifully. Is you just have your intention, you go with your guiding, you don't overthink it, you just trust, you know what you want to have happen, and you just slip on down. So everybody's like, all the people who I haven't mentioned who've said the brilliant gems, they're just so helpful every couple of weeks to hear these things and reinforce them and try to remember them. And I'm so blessed and thankful to be part of this group. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen. Beautiful. Jolanta?
Yes, so that awareness, yeah, that really is the key. And I just want to share something quickly. If this is maybe somebody else has the same experience, that yes, the majority of the time, even myself, I am unconscious. And at work, Juan, we step into the hospital or I step into my office, there's a patient after patient. I know I try to be very, I listen and this and that, but that's really, even when I'm listening, I realize that it's kind of like a subconscious listening. So it's very, I guess we so busy that it's very, very difficult to actually have that awareness. But I do have it from time to time. And when I have it, I know right away, and I am not sure if any one of you has the same experience, because the moment I am truly aware, the picture, the reality totally changes. All of a sudden, the computer looks like it's twice as big. It has that clarity. Everything seems to be bigger, like closer to me. So I am able to distinguish now based on the way how I see things. That's when I'm fully awake, and unfortunately most of the time I'm not fully awake, even if I tell myself that I am. So I strive for those moments that I get into that that visual clarity. And I think that the key is really to I know Vadim says I see myself and I see my reality, but to do it, I think we need to somehow to quiet our mind, you know, in the state of being. And since we are so busy, it's not that feasible. But when it happens, it's like really awesome. I really enjoyed like those moments. So I don't know if you guys, any of you, had the same experience or not, but if you don't have it, it's really awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Like my computer, it's running out. But that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Yeah, just remember, there's so many pearls, many more that I skipped, but one of the reminders is become the one that watches, become the observer while you're on the stage. So imagine you're watching yourself on the stage, you know. So how could you do that even now? How could you see yourself right now in front of your computer or whatever you're holding, you know, seeing yourself maybe from above right now in this moment, and see the one that's sitting there speaking from the computer. And what if you could see us all from above, you know, all there in Canada and US and Serbia, wherever else. Imagine that one. Imagine you could see that's all the perspective changes, right? So what you're thinking, what is going on. It's so beautiful. But it's an exercise. Thank you, Yolanda. Michelle, Tom, what do you just share?
I first of all, I feel like a fish out of water, not having read the book and just jumped in at Satyen's suggestion. But I've got to tell you, what a pleasure to have spent the last hour with some very, very intelligent, sharp people. And it's a rare moment during this pandemic where everybody's locked down, shut down, walk down the aisle this way, wear a mask. I can't see your lips. If I miss something, I can't read your lips. So it's a very, very wonderful thing to be able to see everybody and to actually hear them. I don't know if this is on target, but going back before pendulums and sex, my mother always used to say that regardless of the cloud, which you referred to, that as oftentimes it kind of came across as a dark cloud. And behind every dark cloud, she said, is always a silver lining. And I understood that for a long, long time. And then I realized that sometimes you actually have to wait for it, or you have to look for it, or you have to wait till the cloud moves, or sneak a peek behind it, or move away to get a different perspective. So it was really interesting that you bring up separating yourself almost like astral traveling. Jan, is it Jan? One. Just almost like astral traveling, where you're kind of above and looking down. And as you said that, it reminded me of one of the most profound books I've ever read, and it's oh my God, he was in the camps. As a Man Thinketh.
Frankl.
Viktor Frankl. And it's a very, very small, short book. I think it's 150 pages, little thin paperback. And one of the most brilliant things I've ever read. And in that, what he said was, what directly relates to what you were saying, is that when he was in the worst conditions that he could absolutely imagine any human could be a part of, he imagined himself speaking to an auditorium full of people in velveteen red seats as he was standing on the stage sharing his story about his experiences of being in the camps and surviving. He was a psychologist. And he viewed that moment, and this blew me away. He viewed that moment as if it was in the past. So he created it all in his head, and it gave him enough strength and vision to get through all the unbelievable horrors that he had to be a part of, being forced to be a part of. And years later, he did survive, and he got through the camps, and he traveled to New York. And I can't remember where it was. It might have been Carnegie Hall. He stood on the stage in tears, thanking those people for making his vision come true. Mind-boggling. What he witnessed and what he went through with bare feet in the snow, and stealing a cigarette so he knew he could trade it later for a piece of bread. Amazing stuff. But he visioned himself sharing those experiences on stage in the camps, in the cold, as if it was in the past.
Remember we talked about it last week or two? This is a chapter, if you're interested in the whole thing behind there is, they call it, what's the name of that chapter? I forgot. Going back to the past, returning to the past, which is exactly what you just talked about. It's called Forward to the Past.
Oh, lovely.
It's called Forward to the Past. It's precisely that. Your goal, you see it fully achieved, you live it, so it becomes a thing of the past. So you're moving towards it. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. You see, you're a transurfing already. A transurfer. You're ready.
Namaste.
Michelle.
Oh, I've said my bit earlier. Thank you for it was interesting to be here. Thank you very much.
More than welcome. We'll invite you. We're going to read chapter 17 next week. I mean, in 2 weeks, or whenever the next time we get together. It's called The Dream of the Gods. The Dream of the Gods. Quite interesting. I think there are like 3 sections to it. And let's try something fun this time. I think there is a section called The Two Sides to Reality, another one called The Waking Dream, another one called The Children of God, and then The Dream Theater. That's it. What if, since this is all about and I think I like this because you are all so amazing, what if each of you take a little section and present it instead of me having to say that stuff? I'll just help if anything happens. But you want it? Who's in? Who raises their hand? Just read one little section and present it. Beautiful. Those are my takers. Beautiful. So Carrie, the two sides to reality.
Two sides to reality. Okay.
Shante, the waking dream. Was that you, Julia? You said, right? Julia? No, it's okay. Don't know. Daniela, did you raise your hand? Will you go for it? No?
Oh, come on, guys.
There's one called The Children of God, and the last one is The Dream Theater. The Dream Theater should be lots of fun. You going for it? Was that you, Michelle, saying yes? Beautiful. So let's do The Children of God. Okay. And the last one probably will be the most fun of it, The Dream Theater. Who takes it?
Yolanta.
Oh, Yolanta, there you go. The Dream Theater. That's fun. Dream Theater is they're all fun. Bring on your love, fun, your example. Beautiful. You're fun. This makes it more
Okay, I'll do the Dream Theater.
I have your book, Tommy and Michelle.
This makes it more exciting. You're committed to it. You come and share it the way you want to share it. It's so fun. Okay. So we'll all learn together. Remember, this is what you
go team.
That's the idea. Very good.
See you all on the 22nd.
Sounds fantastic. Mwah. Love to you all.
Love
See
you
all soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for being here, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Stefanos.
Hold you in my embrace.
Stefanos, come join us again next time.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Good night. Good morning, Stefanos.